Virginia-born bluesman Ernie Watts started playing saxophone when he was 13 years old. Over the years, he's been inspired by the greats in the music business, and he himself is one of the greats. He played tenor sax with The Tonight Show for 20 years. He's an awesome instrumentalist who has toured with some of the best music makers around the world. It is my pleasure to welcome Ernie Watts to Studio 4 to tell us more.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, Fanny.
What a life. A man and his music. I read that your parents didn't have to make you practice.
No, I got into it naturally. I didn't know whether I wanted to play the saxophone or what. I was with a friend of mine. We were in school, and he wanted a saxophone, so he got a tenor saxophone, and I figured I'd try trombone because I think I saw the Glenn Miller story on TV or
right.
something, right? So it looked like it would be fun.
Tommy Dorsey.
Yeah, the school was out of trombone, so I got a baritone saxophone, and I started on baritone.
Really? So
yeah.
A happy accident.
Yeah.
No trombones?
No
Why
trombones.
not the saxophone?
Right, exactly. It could have been anything at the time.
What's the difference between a soprano, an alto, a tenor, a baritone sax?
It's just it's the size, of course, and then every one, because it's a different size, there's a different way of playing it. You know, you have to approach it a different way as far as the amount of air you put in and the way that you approach it as far as hearing it,
Sure.
pitch, that kind of thing.
Tell me about your first gig, the first gig you remember, playing a little jazz. Somebody actually hired you. They said, Ernie, got a gig for you.
Well, I started playing when I was 13. I started playing professionally when I was 16. So when I was in high school and my mustache grew in, I let it stay, right?
Right.
And then I started working in little clubs. I think my very first gig or concert was a school dance. There used to be school dances,
Sure.
and we had a little band, and I started doing school dances.
Well, and as you know, the girls like the boys who play in the band. Always has been so. You pick up a guitar, you'll get a girlfriend.
Yeah. Oh,
you know
yeah.
how that is.
Right.
So, Tonight Show, they call you, you audition. How did that work?
Well, when I went to college, I won a scholarship to the Berklee School of Music in Boston.
That's a good one.
So while I was there, Buddy Rich's band was on the road, and one of his musicians decided to leave. So Buddy's manager called the school to see who they would recommend, and I was recommended to go in for a couple of weeks till they got to New York and got a real adult person, right?
Right.
So I started playing with Buddy. I left school to start working with Buddy, and I ended up being there for like 2 years.
Yes.
And then I moved to LA.
Right.
And during the time I was with Buddy, that's when Doc heard me play. I worked at a place in the Empire State Building called the Showboat.
Right.
And I met Benny Goodman and Doc, and so many great players there that would come to hear Buddy. So when I moved to LA, Doc Severinsen asked me to join the Tonight Show band when they moved out to Los Angeles.
And once you joined the band,
Right.
did Johnny mix it up with you, or Ed McMahon, or any of them?
Yeah, they were all very, very gracious and friendly people. I mean, John was a big music fan,
Yes.
and he plays. He played the drums, he played guitar. He had a drum set in his house that Buddy had given him. When the show was over, he had a big party at his home and invited everyone. And he had one of Buddy's drum sets set up in his house.
Wow.
So he really loved the music, and he used to come to hear us when we were in LA too.
And over the years, as the guests came and went on that show, were there times when you thought, this is a magic moment? A comedian,
Right.
a president.
Right.
Maybe when Clinton, were you there when Clinton played the sax?
No, I think I was off. I think
Okay.
I was off that night. But there's been some really good. There have been some really great people. Like opera people. Like
Sure.
Beverly Sills.
Oh, yeah.
And Pavarotti. And you hear these people perform live, and it's just such an incredible sound.
Truly is.
Yeah, it really is.
I had the pleasure of eating pasta with Pavarotti.
Mm-hmm.
Complete accident, but it worked out.
Right.
You know, but you heard John Coltrane or somebody in your
Right.
early years and thought, you know
Right.
what, music's in my soul.
Yeah, well, that's what happened. You know, like we were talking about before, my folks never had to make me practice.
Mm-hmm.
So after I'd been playing the saxophone about 7 or 8 months, my mother figured I wasn't going to quit. So she joined the Columbia Record Club. She bought me a little record player. You remember the Sears Roebuck
Sure.
catalog, and their
Sure.
music thing used to be called
Mm-hmm.
Silvertone. She bought me this little Silvertone record player, and she joined the Columbia Record Club. And the freebie, you know, the first one you get that's free,
Yes.
was a Miles Davis album called Kind of Blue. And that's when I first heard John Coltrane was on that record.
It was like joining the Book of the Month Club.
Right,
Right?
exactly.
And
yeah.
you thought, well, I'll just sign up for this one record.
Right.
And they kept coming.
Right, right,
In the mail. But you played Motown, Marvin Gaye,
Right.
Aretha Franklin,
right.
all of that. What
Everybody.
about those Rolling Stones?
Well, that
How
was
long did you
fun.
tour with them?
About 4 months. It was in 1981. It was the Tattoo You tour. And I was working with Quincy quite a bit.
Quincy Jones.
Yeah, and so what happened was the Stones had already started their tour, and the saxophonist that they had wasn't working out. So Mick called Quincy and asked who he would recommend, and Quincy recommended me. So they called me up. I went over to the hotel. I met Mick. I met Ronnie Woods, you know, and Charlie Watts,
Right.
and Keith, of course. And then they gave me a bunch of records. And because they had already rehearsed, they were already on the road, so there was no rehearsal. They said, okay, well, here's some records. Here's what we're going to do. Go check them out. We're going to play in San Diego on Sunday. You know, come by and we'll go and we'll do it. So that was my audition. And my audition was in San Diego in front of like 80,000 people. So I listened to the records, you know.
Perfect.
And it was all accessible. You know, when you're
Sure.
a jazz musician and you study and you practice your whole life, you know, you kind of get over, you know, you get overtrained for some things. So with the Stones, you know, it was blues in G, blues in A, blues in D, blues in E. Okay,
Okay, can
let's
do
go.
that.
Yeah.
And they say, well, could you maybe pick up the bass? You go, no, can't do that. But can
But
certainly
I can
play
do-
this.
Yeah, I'll do it on the saxophone.
Will you do it for us today?
Sure.
Play us a little tune or,
Sure, or something. I'll play a
riff,
little something.
a scale.
Sure.
What would you like to play?
I don't know.
Oh, okay, you're that kind of guy,
Yeah,
aren't you?
I'm totally spontaneous. I never know what's going to come out of that thing.
Music, you said once. Uh-oh. Not the Star Spangled Banner. No. But you know, you said once, I think you said this, that music is like God singing through you. It's
Right.
like an energy to be used for good, but it is
Right.
such a common bond in the world.
That's
You
right.
can melt hearts
Right.
or rev people up or inspire
Exactly.
by what you know how to do.
Exactly. Because we're all a part of the same energy.
Yeah.
You know, we're all a part
Yeah.
of the same energy.
Do you still practice or do you just play?
I practice 2 or 3 hours every day. You know, I tell people I have to practice 2 hours a day so that I don't get any worse. If I'm going to get better,
Yes.
better, I add time onto
Yeah,
that.
the life of a
Yeah.
premium session musician
Yeah.
is a lot of work, a lot of studio
Yeah.
work,
Exactly.
tireless,
Right.
on the road, on the planes,
Sure.
wherever you go. Can you bring in the
So,
mic so
are
he
you
can play
ready?
something? We're ready because
Okay.
we have to listen to you, and then we'll talk a little more.
Okay, that's great. So I'm going to play something, and
We don't know what it is.
we don't know what it is, but it'll be nice and you'll like it.
I promise you I will. If I don't, Ernie, I won't say anything.
That's right. If you don't,
I'll just
don't say
be
anything.
your perfect audience.
Okay. Thank you.
I know it's one hand clapping, and you've heard more. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was lovely. You can have a seat now.
All right.
Yeah. Well, with the A Band and Nightcap, you'll be playing at Capilano Performing Arts Theater, and that's is tonight at 8 p.m.
Right.
Is that is that your quartet? Tell me.
I'm playing with the school ensemble for the big band section, and it's many of my tunes that have been arranged for big band. Right. And then the beginning of the concert, I'm playing with the school's jazz choir, and they've put together a program of my tunes that we're doing with voices, and that's very interesting.
When you won the Grammy, the Grammys, was that with orchestra, with a quartet?
Well, it was with production projects. The first one I did was an R&B adaptation of the music from Chariots of Fire.
Really?
And Quincy produced that. And then the second one I did was called Music Can, and I produced that with my friend Don Grusin. And these were for Quincy's company called Quest at the time.
Wow, what a thrill.
Yeah.
What a thrill. You have your own label still?
Yeah, my wife Patricia and I, we started our own little label about 6 years ago, and it's called Flying Dolphin. And I do my projects for our company, for
that
our
was smart.
project. Well, you know, I wanted to do the music.
Ernie.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I wanted to do the music that I was writing and working on with the people that I was playing with, so it was very important for me to do it in that way. Yeah.
The greatest thing about what you do is you can do it till you go to the happy hunting ground.
Oh, yeah. And the longer you do it, the further away the happy hunting ground is.
It's true.
Yeah,
Musicians,
because it keeps you young.
Yeah, and conductors apparently too.
Right.
It must be the lymph moving around. I don't know what it is.
Keeps all the wheels turning.
You bet it
You
does.
know, and that's the most important thing. You know, the most important thing is to keep your mind alive.
And there's apparently a music-math connection. I won't ask you about that. I don't know if you got A's in math. I know you got A's in music. Hi, thank you. Nice to meet you. Welcome to Vancouver.
Well, it's a great pleasure to be here.
Ernie Watts with A Band and Nightcap. That's tonight at Capilano Performing Arts.